Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan, out the Motor City Madmouth, and happy Labor Day to everybody, and hope you had a very safe Labor Day weekend and great Labor Day being around the important people in your life. And Monday Night Baseball, and we will start off with David Hodges. How you doing, David?
I'm doing good, guys. Hope y'all are.
Doing fine, thanks. And Rick Curti is back.
Hey, how are you? Happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day to you and everybody out there. So you guys ready to talk some baseball tonight?
You know it.
As we do every Monday night. Monday Night Baseball, our version. So we'll start off on an unfortunately a tough note that 2020 we know hadn't been a good year for practically anything, but it's certainly not a good year for Hall of Fame deaths. Three of the ones that stand out to me are obviously Al Kaline of the Detroit Tigers, who died earlier in the spring. But within the last week, we've had Tom Seaver and Lou Brock. Lou Brock passed away at the age of 81. Tom Seaver, of course, passed away last week. Well, Rick, you had a chance to talk about Seaver, so we'll let you lead off and let David talk about Seaver and Brock. And Kaline, we'll talk about all three. I know Cooperstown will miss these three individuals at next year's induction ceremony in 2021. So go ahead, Rick.
Well, I mean, they're legends, you know. Tom Seaver was one of the greatest pitchers of all time, won 3 Cy Young Awards, 300-game winner, threw a no-hitter when he was with the Reds. Unfortunately, he was a little bit before my time, but I do remember when he won his 300th game as a Chicago White Sox. Lou Brock, one of the greatest stolen base leaders of all time, you know, and again, unfortunately, a little bit before my time. But, you know, as I studied and been baseball for many, many years, a true legend, and I heard both him and Seaver were just two of the most wonderful human beings in baseball, and they really, really love their fans. And, of course, unfortunately, Al Kaline, one of the greatest Tigers of all time, you know, youngest man ever win a batting title. He was 20 years old. He's just... Ty Cobb was the youngest, and he beat him by a couple months. So, I mean, it's just 2020 has been just it's just been crazy. And unfortunately, we've lost so many stars in baseball. And it's sad to see all three of those go. And, you know, I'm just praying for them and their family. And it's just sad to see legends like that pass away.
David?
Well, yeah, I'm with Rick on the sentiments he just mentioned. Also, all three of these, they were before my time as well. What some people may not know, I don't think I've ever mentioned it, but I've been a memorabilia collector for well over 20 years, and I would actually go to spring training with a couple of buddies, and we spent a lot of time at Tiger Town down there. I believe it's in Lakeland, Florida, if my memory serves me correct.
Absolutely, yes.
And, of course, Al Kaline served. I don't know if he was in now Scott, you might know this. I'm not sure if he was in a coaching capacity just for spring training, but he was always down there.
Yep.
He always took time for the fans. There were many times I got some signatures from him, whether it be on a baseball or maybe like an 8x10 photo or a Tigers cap. But yeah, as Rick mentioned, yes, he did love the fans. It was always a pleasure to be around. I also had the privilege of meeting Lou Brock many years ago. There's a collector showcase right outside of Washington, D.C. They hold 3 shows a year. Of course, obviously nothing's happening this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but Lou Brock was one of the guests. I went through the line. I had an 8x10 photo for him, and he's asked me, he's like, "Here you go, buddy." And then he said, "Here you go." And then he asked me, "Are you a second baseman?" And I said, "Well, not exactly. I'm actually a broadcaster." And then I guess he kind of has to work for this, and in a deep baritone voice is like, "Oh, okay then. Well, good luck with your career."
Pretty good.
But again, super nice individuals. I didn't have the privilege of meeting Tom Seaver, but I know a lot of people who have, and they say he was just beyond accommodating to fans. And as you guys mentioned, they are legends. They will be greatly missed. And yes. Seems like 2020 just strikes again, really. As much as I hate to say it, but but as Rick said, they were always before my time as well, and I studied the game ad nauseum as well. And of course, Lou Brock, Rick, as you mentioned, one of the great all-time base stealers, held numerous records. Still, Ricky Henderson came into the league and broke, I believe, all of those records And of course, he's in the Hall of Fame as well. But yeah, just wonderful individuals. You can't say enough, what they did for the game of baseball. And yes, they will be missed.
Yeah, it's amazing, Dave, how you talk about Kaline. I get like once in a while and see him here and there, but obviously I live on the other side of the state. But yeah, he did serve in there as a administrator, but it was always a hitting instructor as well. So he did go out there and help out as much as he could. Obviously, we knew that Kaline was a fine hitter, had over 3,000 hits. I once did ask him, however, that, does he ever regret not hitting that 400th home run? He said, yeah, I wish I probably would have done that. But Kaline was the most unselfish, kind human being. And, but we lost Lou Brock and Tom Seaver within the last week.
I know. Lou Brock, stolen bases now is like a lost art form to me. And I remember back in my day, having seen Vince Coleman and Tim Raines, they would steal 60, 70, 80 bases. Lou Brock would do it all the time. Ricky Henderson with 130. And now it's like if you steal 40 bases, it's like a lot. And it's just sad that's what I miss about baseball, that lost art form of stealing bases.
Yeah, that's true. Speed is definitely a commodity if you have it. And if you find yourself in a great ballpark that warrants it, it can be very, very dangerous. All right, let's talk about the next thing on the docket. Washington Nationals general manager Mike Rizzo was ejected from Sunday's game against the Atlanta Braves while standing in one of the luxury boxes. And he was actually, telling Joe West that you're brutal, and he was ejected by Joe West. And in a pandemic situation, you can hear everything. No fans. MLB will investigate the matter, and the Nationals suffered a 10-3 loss to Atlanta. This is pretty crazy, but again, when you have no fans, you hear a lot of sounds you ordinarily wouldn't, because the crowd noise would ordinarily go out there and flush it out. So what are your thoughts, Dave, about the Washington Nationals and Mike Rizzo being thrown out from a luxury box?
Well, it's definitely one where you kind of have to wonder. If it's a player getting ejected from the stands, which we know has happened since the season has gone on without fans, but of course, players, they know the umpires, and you would think, maybe they do. They would know what umpiring crew to kind of prepare for. They would know who's going to let what slide. Maybe this home plate umpire lets, a ball that's high and inside go for a strike. But the GM of any baseball team, to me, that's just unacceptable. If you think Joe West is, being unfair, or as you mentioned, he's being extra brutal on the team, then you're in a position of authority. Why not just file a complaint with Major League Baseball? Save the video, do what you have to do, go through the proper protocol. And with the players, yeah, you kind of expect it, but with upper management, to me, that he really paints himself in such a negative light, because you really kind of have to know better. You don't like what he's doing, leave the box, go into the clubhouse. If you want to shout at the TV, and throw things around. But again, to do it where he can be heard by the umpiring crew, I think he just let his emotions get the better of him right there.
Right.
Every day you hear stupid stories about what stupid people are doing, and this is just another one. His own player, Steven Strasburg, did the same exact thing, and yet this guy's in upper management does the same thing. I'm sure he wasn't wearing a mask when he did this, and for him to yell like that when there's no audience, it's just beyond stupidity. It sets a bad example for the team. Strasburg did the same thing, got ejected. Now upper management does the same thing. And then what irritates me is the next day they go and apologize. And they're only apologizing because they got caught. If he didn't get caught, he would have done it probably the next game and the game after and the game after. So I just scratched my head to see the stupidity from people that just continuously do things like this. And it's just, there's no respect right now. I hope Major League Baseball finds them, and I hope they suspend him, and they need to set an example that this kind of behavior during a pandemic or not is just totally unacceptable.
Okay. Very interesting. sometimes I wonder, well, I'll get to this point after I get to the Bryce Harper thing in a few minutes. Let's talk about the New York Yankees. Right now they're reeling. 13th loss in their last 18 games. Carol Lombardi, former Tampa high school baseball coach who was a regular on our broadcast network from now once in a while. I've known KR for many, many years. Actually said that the New York Yankees were made out of glass. Now, let's go ahead and break down the numbers. They're 21-19 and third place in the American League East. 6.5 games out of the Tampa Bay Rays. Current update on the Yankees taking on the Buffalo Blue Jays / Toronto Blue Jays. At the end of 3, the Yankees, are tied with the Blue Jays 2-2. Guys, we all thought that, the Yankees were invincible and they were going to have a cakewalk, but this is turning out to be a nightmare type of year. They're banged up. A lot of guys are on the injured list. What the heck is going on with the Bronx Bombers?
Well, it's unfortunate what's going on with them. They have been very injury prone. They have two of the most injured players in Judge and Stanton, who just can never stay healthy. And it just seems like it's just raging in their team right now. They are easily the biggest disappointment in this very weird baseball season. I had them winning the World Series. I had them and the Dodgers in the World Series. Dodgers are doing great. Yankees have been struggling. And I've been very critical of Aaron Boone. I said that he was not a good hire. I couldn't understand why they got rid of Girardi when he probably managed in his last year, probably had the best managerial season of his career when he had nothing. And, they went very far. So I've just never been a big fan of Aaron Boone. And right now, I know they're injured. But I just I never thought he was the right guy for the team. And so when they get healthy, or if they do get healthy, we'll see what happens. But, this is in New York, and the press is brutal. And I know they're being brutal on the Yankees right now. But it's just been a very, very disappointing year for the Yankees right now. And whether they turn it around or not, I have no idea.
By the way, speaking of Joe Girardi, the Philadelphia Phillies are 20 wins, 17 losses with a .541 winning percentage, and they're second in the National League East. So when you want to talk, I kind of wondered about Girardi being let go as well. The Yankees are 21-19 and .525, sitting in third place in the American League East. So yeah, I questioned that dismissal, but I don't know. All right, Dave, what are your thoughts about why the Bronx Bombers are reeling?
Well, yeah, it's definitely a head scratcher. They were rocking and rolling just, I believe it was, maybe a month ago. It's like they were playing the Red Sox left and right, and they were just completely annihilating them. And, you kind of wonder, what's gotten into their heads. That's one thing I've always wondered, how a team could go on such a tear, then maybe have a few games where they're kind of wobbling back and forth, and they just, as you guys mentioned, are just completely tanking right now. You kind of got to wonder, is there, discord in the locker room? Is it a lack of leadership? Is it time for a players-only meeting? But again, in pro sports, it's always going to come down to who is in charge. And, of course, you look over the years, the Yankees, they like to either promote from within or hire from within, or obviously someone that has played for them before, knows what it's like. Rick, as you mentioned, knows the press, can deal with the press. But, they're going to have to find some answers really, really soon, or you never know. Granted, the fans aren't there, but at what point do they start calling for Aaron Boone's head if they can't turn it around? But
Dave, my question to you, did I hear you correctly that you're wondering if they're tanking? I don't know if they're tanking. I think they're really banged up. I think Lombardi's comments that they're made out of glass probably summarizes the fact that these guys are getting hurt a lot. I've never understood where the word tanking could ever be related to the New York Yankees of all franchises. And that's how you feel. I'm okay with it. But they have had a lot of... Now, I hear Garrett Cole isn't performing up to expectations. Anybody that gets a big contract puts a lot more pressure on them. But let's not lose sight of the fact that the Tampa Bay Rays are playing well. But we all know that the Yankees certainly had high expectations going. I don't know. Tanking to me in the New York Yankees just doesn't seem right. But if that's how you feel, that's your opinion, and I'll certainly respect that wholeheartedly, Dave. I really will.
Well, you wouldn't want to think that the Yankee franchise would be doing that. But my personal opinion, there's got to be something going on in the locker room right now. It could be attributed to a lack of leadership. Maybe player captains just aren't up to capacity. And then Aaron Boone just might have to step up and say, okay, whoever the captains are at the moment, strip them of their, of the badge, so to speak, and just say, when you guys start playing like this, you'll get these back. It kind of reminds me of, many years ago when Bill Parcells took over coaching the Dallas Cowboys. Well, he thought the rookies in camp weren't taking it seriously and playing, up to snuff. Well, he went and ripped the stars off their helmets and said, you get these back when you start playing, like the past greats of this franchise. And of course, everybody, all knows that, Bill Parcells is one of the greats of all time. Of course, Aaron Boone, and the echelon of, team management, can't hold a candle to him. But you would have to think somebody's going to have to step up here and say, what's happening? Maybe go see the in-house sports psychologist. Is everyone just so afraid of getting COVID that it's getting into their heads? Something is going to have to be done in that locker room.
Well, that's a very interesting comparison, bringing Parcells, but I can see the comparison where you have a old school guy versus a younger guy. I'll give you that. That's for sure, because comparing Aaron Boone and Bill Parcells is like comparing salt and pepper. You definitely have a totally different taste there for sure. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, okay, Dave, I appreciate that. That's very interesting. All right, let's talk about Cal Ripken Jr. Threw out the ceremonial first pitch to his son one day ago, the 25th anniversary of breaking the Ironman record set by Lou Gehrig. That's pretty neat, isn't it? All right, Dave, go ahead and lead off.
No, most definitely. Yeah, I remember I believe I was still living in Seattle at the time when he broke the streak. I was watching that game on TV, and to me, it's always stood out as one of the greatest moments in baseball history. To see the numbers counting out there, over the outfield wall. His teammates pushed him into a victory lap, and it's one of those things. To me, it ranks up there with Babe Ruth calling his shot. Some of pick a play that Derek Jeter had done in the postseason. But yeah, it's again one of the greatest to ever play the game, and it's good he's still involved with the game of baseball. He didn't just go quietly into the night. 25th anniversary was just an incredible night, incredible moment, and I can only imagine what it was like for the fans to have been there.
Right.
It's amazing. I remember growing up watching baseball, and my dad would always tell me, nobody will ever break Lou Gehrig's record of most consecutive games played. It's never, ever going to happen. And I know this Cal Ripken guy trying to do it is not going to happen. And not only did he break it, he demolished it. He continued to play and play. Imagine not missing a game for 18 years, or going to work and never calling out and stuff like that. It's just remarkable what he's done. And he did it in one of the positions that's the most brutal in shortstop, where they kick out your legs, to break up a double play. I heard that he would, one time sprained his ankle so bad that it turned all black. And there's no way he's going to play. And he was back on the field the next day. The man was just, we talk about the Yankees, how they're made out of glass. I think the Iron Horse was really made out of iron, because he just was, it's something we're never, ever going to see again. And I don't think people appreciate that streak, because not only did he, when Lou Gehrig did it, he did it, he didn't play the whole game. He would play 5 innings and then he would leave. Cal Ripken played the whole 9 innings. So not only did he break the record for most consecutive games, but actually most innings in a game as well. So it's a record that will never, ever be broken. it's just it's never gonna come close. So he's always been one of my favorites of all time, up there with Tony Gwynn, a true role model, a guy who never got in trouble. You never heard of any scandals. You never heard of him like trade me, or saying, hey, I want this amount of money. And I'm sure there's times he was frustrated with the Orioles, as they were, there are times they were pretty terrible when he was playing there. So, I mean, he's just a true legend, a true icon, and it's a record that will never, ever be broken, ever.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's from the Detroit area, and the word blue collar could not be any more defined than Lou Gehrig, as well as Cal Ripken Jr. for sure. And he obviously showed what it's like to go to work every day for a lot of years, no matter how injured you are. And the Orioles organization has certainly been anything but a model. They've had some great years, but boy, they've had some pretty bad ones as well. And what he's done even after he's left the game goes without saying. But you talk about sacred records. The thing I can say is baseball has a lot of those type of sacred records. They really do. And, Cal Ripken Jr. is the epitome. And more importantly, that consecutive game streak came at a time when occurred after the 94 season, which if that streak had been in danger, I can tell you right now, baseball would have never survived and come back. We often talk about Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Say what you want about the performance-enhancing drugs, but they're the ones that helped bring baseball back, and so did Cal Ripken Jr. Nobody wanted to see that particular record go down because of a lousy, stupid labor dispute.
Yeah, definitely. And It's like I said, it's never going to be broken. They won't even come close. I mean, if Stanton plays like 10 games in a row, it's like, wow, look at him. This guy didn't miss a game for 18 years. Can you imagine like going to work for 18 years and never calling out? Or I mean, the man was just a model of consistency. And like I said, a true great role model. He actually played for the Charlotte O's during the early 80s. So I'm kind of happy that he got kind of his legendary start here in Charlotte. So, and he's just done great things after the game. So I mean, he's just an ambassador of baseball, and I've always said that, if Manfred, if they do get rid of Manfred, they need to put someone there that's likable and respected. And to me, Cal Ripken would be the ideal person to be the next commissioner of Major League Baseball, if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be so far-fetched how they really think about it. So, yeah, Cal Ripken Jr. is definitely, to me, what can you say? He's in sacred territory. All right, let's go back to the umpire theme, shall we? On Saturday's game, one day ago, Saturday's game, Bryce Harper, it was a 5-1 Philly loss to the New York Mets, tells the umpire not to treat him like a 5-year-old after he was ejected from that particular game. Now, I want to present this question to both of you. I understand the umpires have to do what they have to do to police the game. But are there times that you feel that umpires show up the players? Because now you're talking about Bryce Harper, not Mike Rizzo. Different animal. Do they draw attention to themselves at times? Do they overshadow the game?
I think they do. I think some of them really like to show them, like, I'm the boss. I'm in control. I mean, we have umpires like Angel Hernandez have done things that is just like ridiculous. I think they do. I think they like the power. Like, I could control the balls and strikes. But at the same time, Bryce Harper has a very poor resume with umpires. This is not the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last time that he says something to an umpire. He has flicked off umpires. He has told umpires to F off. I remember him running out of the dugout after the Nationals won a game, and instead of celebrating the walk-off home run, he literally went up to the umpire and gave him a double, flick off with his fingers. So, and so I really have no sympathy for Bryce because he does it to himself. He really needs to grow up, and that's why you have Mike Trout as the face of baseball, not because of his numbers, not because of his consistency, but because of the way he composes himself. And so, yeah, umpires do like to have some control, and there are umpires out there who've been around a lot, like Joe West, and they like the control, but at the same time, Bryce Harper really needs to grow up, and he needs to stop acting like a child.
Yeah, but say that you're being treated like a 5-year-old is kind of interesting, albeit his track record doesn't do him a whole lot of good either. All right, Dave, chime in on this one.
Well, I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with Rick on this one. You know, there's going to be players that are, you know, like a Bryce Harper, you know, that are of such, you know, high stature in the game that there's going to be umpires that want to say, you know, you're I guess how can I put it? You know, I don't want to say that they want to say to them, you know, you're just another ball player, because really they're not. But yeah, it's, you know, there's going to be, I guess, you know, a level of, you know, testosterone, you know, that might get the better of him sometimes. And, you know, Bryce might feel like he's got an image he has to protect. And, you know, he might say, well, that's kind of based off, you know, my batting numbers, whether it be home runs, doubles, triples, you know, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, he might feel that he's on a shorter leash than, you know, like a lot of the other, you know, other players in Major League Baseball, because, you know, as you mentioned, Rick, that, you know, Mike Trout is the face, but, you know, Bryce Harper is a very, very close second. And there are times, you know, where, you know, you will see across all sports where players will clash with, you know, the officiating crew. Some will just say, well, they're just doing it for, you know, attention, or, you know, to be, you know, the next viral video on YouTube of, you know, this umpire tossing Bryce Harper out of a game, or, you know, YouTube channels that like to, you know, dissect the plays, or, you know, when stars lose their cool. But yeah, I agree with Rick on this one. You know, he needs to, you know, don't go in there with a chip on your shoulder. You know, go in there, play the game. You don't like the call, then again, you know, you file agreements with Major League Baseball, you know, as being one of the top stars. You're going to be listened to. But yeah, to, you know, go out there, and if you don't, you know, you don't get the pitch, you yell at them, throw your helmet, throw your bat. That's, you're throwing a tantrum in front of, you know, and of course, you know, with everything being recorded now, you're only going to be making yourself look bad. So yeah, just, you know, I agree with Rick, you know, grow up and don't feel like you deserve preferential treatment.
Yeah, well, in fact, this whole thing is magnified because there are no fans in the stands. People are going to hear you. So, and the only ones watching your tantrum are the ones that are watching you on TV, because nobody's doing it in the stands for sure. All right, so we'll go on from Bryce Harper to a guy that certainly knows what the round tripper is, Fernando Tatis Jr. from Slam Diego. In the 7th inning, he hit another one of those dingers, the 15th of the year, and a 5-3 win over the Oakland A's. I'm telling you one thing about this Padres team. Okay, when you look at this team overall in general, the Padres are sitting at 25-17, 5 out of the Dodgers. They're looking awfully good. They really are. So, who wants to lead off on this for Fernando Tatis Jr.?
I can go.
Go ahead, Rick.
Okay, well, I remember his dad hitting 2 grand slams in the same inning. So I guess
remember that?
Yeah, I remember it was against the Dodgers, and I thought, like, are you serious? And man, that's like one of those crazy things that you're never gonna see happen. Or it might happen, but like it won't be for a while. So I remember him doing it against the Dodgers. It was just insane. So I guess it's in the genes, because his son apparently likes to do the same thing as well. He's just a big star right now in baseball. You know, we could talk about Bryce Harper and all that stuff, but Tatis Jr. is really making a name for himself. And these Padres, they're amazing. And the great thing about them is that they're young. You know, they're very, very young. So, I mean, some of them are not even in their prime yet, to be quite honest. So, they look really, really good right now. When someone told me about the Padres, I thought, are you kidding me, the Padres? Because I'm so used to them being so bad over the years. And for them to be this good is just really amazing. So, my hats off to the Padres. Tatis Jr. is a star in the making. And, We'll see if this will carry on for 2021, but right now their 2020 season looks fantastic right now, and they're really raising a lot of eyebrows for people.
Go ahead, David.
Well, easy to say that, you know, the feel-good story of 2020 in Major League Baseball, if there are any, is this one. It's good to see that it keeps going. Obviously, we talked about, I believe it was last week, how the Padres have loaded up. Of course, last Monday was the trade deadline, and a lot of top names have made their way to Southern California. So you can only expect the highlights to keep coming with, who they have on the roster now, who they've acquired over the last 2 to 3 weeks. And, anytime people are going to get a chance to tune in and see Tatis Jr., the ratings are definitely going to be going through the roof for that ball club.
Well, think about the Padres for a minute. Guys, 25-17, they're 12-6 at home. When they do get fans, you can only imagine how many people are going to come back and watch them next year. This is an indication of what they're in for. The only game in town, so there's no entertainment. There's no entertainment other than them. Let's go ahead and look at runs scored, 238 versus 185 against, with a plus 53 differential. And they are 6-4 out of their last 10 games. So I'll take this 2020 season for whatever it's worth. But the San Diego Padres are making a lot of noise, and they're making a lot of good noise. You never know that. And in a season with so many unique possibilities, this team can be very dangerous, and they're already showing it. And bear in mind, we only have a few weeks left to go in this abbreviated season for sure. So our last subject of the night, let's talk about Shane Bieber. I know when during pre-production, Dave Hodges, when we start talking about this guy, his numbers are unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And they would not be devalued in any season. And I'll tell you, and Rick, here you go, 7 wins, no losses. He's 25 years of age. He's recorded at least 8 strikeouts in his first 9 starts, matching Indians Hall of Famer Bob Feller's club mark in 1946 to start a season. Now, as I reiterated, he's 7 wins, no losses, 1.25 earned run average, 9 games, 9 started, 94 strikeouts, 14 walks, and he beat the Brewers 4-1 on Sunday in 5 innings. And get this, I believe he's a Cy Young favorite, and I would give him my Cy Young favorite. But in yesterday's game against the Brew Crew, he had 10 strikeouts versus 1 walk. I'll give you one word that actually describes what I think about Mr. Bieber. Wow. All right, Mr. Curti, go ahead. Take it from there.
Well, what he's doing is great. To me, he's easily the Cy Young favorite. He's probably going to get the Cy Young. I mean, those are like Sandy Koufax numbers that he's putting up. I mean, to go 7-0 and have all those strikeouts, the less walks, and he did against a really great Brewers team. It's phenomenal. Whether it's a short season or a long season, I mean, those kind of stats are just historic what he's doing. So in his very strange season, he's going to get the Cy Young without a doubt. I mean, it's just unbelievable what he's doing. I mean, and you got to tip your hat off to him. He's doing a really great job, and who knows, he might even, if Mike Trout don't get the MVP, we've seen pitchers also get the MVP as well when they get the Cy Young. I remember when Dennis Eckersley got the Cy Young as a reliever, but he also got the MVP that year too. So, I mean, don't be surprised that this guy is an MVP candidate as well. So, I mean, it's historic and amazing what he's been doing.
Well, bear in mind, at last Monday's trade deadline, Mike Clevenger was dealt to, I believe it was the Padres, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right, so there you go. The rich get richer. Clevenger goes to the Padres. And meanwhile, Shane Bieber, is making people actually forget about it. So go ahead, David. What's your take on it?
Well, he's only getting better. Looking at his stats over the past couple of years, 11-5 in 2018, 15-8 in 2019. Of course, he's only 7-0 right now. Obviously, it's the COVID shortened season, but we could be looking at the next great pitching phenom with still many years to come. And like you guys have said, if he doesn't get the Cy Young, then really the award shouldn't exist. With the numbers he's putting up this year, and I agree with you, Rick. He's definitely giving Trout a run for his money here when it comes to the MVP award. And again, just referring back to his stats, looking at the numbers he's putting up, I'd say a hand in both awards right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know whether I'd give an MVP to a pitcher, but you know what? The Cy Young Award in this case looks awfully good. So that leads me to my next question. Okay, I know we probably talked about it from time to time. Well, why not talk about it again? And that's this. I don't think, in my mind, okay, that the award should be devalued. To me, if a guy gets an award, he gets an award with no asterisk. I don't care. We're still seeing some pretty incredible numbers. Now, I don't know about the hitters and individual numbers, and anything that hits 400 I worry about, but anything other than that, I don't think I would look the other way. I really would. So, but what's your take on it, Mr. Hodges?
Well, these awards, as a baseball fan and purist, you really you like to go into a new season, kind of saying, okay, well, here's going to be the top 3 pitchers, and here would be my pick for the Cy Young. And I don't think like you said, these awards should not be devalued. It's part of the game, and any pitcher who has the best season over all their other counterparts, they have the best numbers, they deserve the award. They're the best pitcher in the game, and it's not something that should be looked over. And as you said, yes, it is a pandemic shortened season, but I don't see any reason for there to be an asterisk. He put up these numbers, he deserves it, and he deserves it without an asterisk.
Yeah, for awards, yeah, numbers. If it's a 400 season, I worry about. But go ahead, Rick. What do you think?
Well, it's not the players' fault that we're having COVID-19. They didn't do nothing about it, so it's not. I'm not going to penalize them because of a pandemic that's probably we're never going to see again in our lifetime. I hope not. So I'm not going to penalize them for that. But I'm going to have to disagree a little bit with David because I do believe they're going to have to put an asterisk because when they see someone winning a Cy Young Award and he has 9 or 10 wins, they're going to say wow, I mean, how did he win that? A lot of people are not going to know. They're going to have to put a footnote on the bottom and say shortened season due to COVID-19, just like when they had the 94 season when Tony Gwynn almost hit 400, when we almost stopped Jeff Bagwell break Hack Wilson's RBI record. There's always that asterisk that says, a shortened season due to a labor dispute. So that's unfortunate, and it's not the players' fault because they went out there and played. I'm definitely not going to penalize them for that because it's not their fault. They just went out there and played, and I think it's even more remarkable to do it with no fans and do it during a season when there's this fear of getting COVID-19. So I wouldn't penalize the players, but I think they're going to have to be like an asterisk in the history books and just explaining to people that hitting 14 home runs led the league, or having 10 wins led the league, or something like that. So I think that they're going to have to do that so people will understand why their numbers were so low.
Why was there an asterisk in '94 with those awards?
I'm not sure. I think I saw a book and I remember reading about it, and I remember they had a little footnote on one of them, and it said something like season shortened due to due to labor disputes. So
yeah, but a footnote and an asterisk, Rick, is different. Just so you know. So
right.
Sure. No, I mean,
they're going to have to put something. I mean, do I think there should be an asterisk? I mean, if someone hits 400 this year,
well, that's
there definitely needs to be an asterisk.
Well, that
or
is.
someone wins, or someone breaks a record, they're going to have to put an asterisk and say that it was during a shortened season.
The only thing that I think you can actually have an asterisk next to, and only thing would be a 400 hitter. Other than that, I don't think asterisk, the awards get handed out. Some came up here I want to address as well. Sources are saying that Puerto Rican MLBers can actually wear number 21 for Roberto Clemente. What are your thoughts about that? I think that's really good. Roberto Clemente, the Puerto Rican who revered Roberto Clemente. Everybody knows that Roberto Clemente died, I believe it was December 31st. I want to say it was at 1972 or 3, but it was in the early 70s because of a mission. But anyways, Puerto Rican players wearing number 21. David, what are your thoughts about that before we wrap it up?
Well, I think it's a great gesture by Major League Baseball, for, Dominicans to be able to, wear the number of their hero. Of course, it, kind of beg the question, okay, well, if there are, say, half a dozen or a dozen Dominicans on, players on one baseball team, well, who's going to get to wear it? Would they have a player lottery, as who would get the number? I think it works. Yeah, if that's what they want to wear to honor the great Roberto Clemente, again, as Rick and I said about past Hall of Famers, was before our time. But I've got no issue with it. If that's what the players want to do to honor the great player that he was, then kudos to them, and kudos to Major League Baseball for allowing them to do it.
Yeah, well, he's Puerto Rican born, so yeah, I can definitely see. I think he, from what I remember, he has a stadium named after him out in Puerto Rico and all that. But I think it's a great gesture of for Puerto Rican players only. And by the way, Roberto Clemente died on December 31st of 1972. Obviously, we know about the plane crash that killed him. So, Rick, what are your thoughts about that?
Oh, I think it's great. I think Major League Baseball should have a Roberto Clemente Day like they honor Jackie Robinson. I mean, he's a true pioneer, what he did. Can you imagine his last hit was his 3,000 hit? I mean, that's just how crazy is that? And then, again, unfortunately, I wasn't born when he died, unfortunately, but, reading his numbers, he's obviously a Hall of Famer, but he's also a pioneer to Latinos everywhere because he was like one of the very first Latino superstars in all of sports, and he was dynamic. He was fantastic. And, a true humanitarian. He was out giving supplies to his native Puerto Rico. Right. And unfortunately his plane crashed and he died. So, I mean, but to me, he's a true pioneer, a true legend, a true icon, not only for Latinos everywhere, but for everybody. And I would love to see Major League Baseball have a Roberto Clemente Day, just like they have a Jackie Robinson Day, and honor him.
No disagreement there. Okay, good job, guys. Doing a heck of a job tonight. And once again, folks, you're listening to 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morganroth, along the Motor City Madmouth, along with David Hodges and Rick Curti. We do this every Monday night. We love doing it. We hope that everybody's had a great Labor Day weekend, being around your important family members, whether it's via Zoom, in person. Hope you're wearing your mask, social distancing, whatever. Holiday weekend, there's always ways to stay in touch with the people that you really love. I want to have a special shout out to my mother, who I got to tell you, she's hanging in there really good. She's dealing with some respiratory issues right now, dealing with COPD. But Mom, love you very much out there. You're hanging in there. You're a true warrior, and it's hopefully I have a chance to see you down the road. But I enjoy the Zoom calls. You can listen to 108 Stitches Baseball Talk by going through Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, I'll repeat that in case I went a little too quick. Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Guys, any closing thoughts here before we give everybody an opportunity to go ahead and say what they represent?
Just wish everybody well and stay safe. And like Scott says, wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands, and just use some common sense.
What about you, David?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Of course, continue to stay safe, and starting to see some numbers for COVID-19 dwindle, but it is still out there. It is still very real. I've a couple of people I've worked with, the dealership where my day job is. They have dealt with it. Their families have dealt with it. So, continue to stay safe, as you guys mentioned. Wash your hands, wear gloves, wear a mask, social distance, and just continue to follow safety protocols. So hopefully we can get this disease eradicated and get it, out of our lives, out of 2020, and life can get back to normal. So I also want to give a shout out to the family of sports announcer Bob Robertson, passed away today. He was the 52-year voice of Washington State Cougars football and basketball. Now, I myself am a Washington Husky fan, but to be the voice of a team for over 50 years, that is quite an accomplishment. Again, he passed away today, so condolences and prayers go out to his family. And as I just mentioned, everybody stay safe out there. Hope you all had a wonderful Labor Day, and back to work tomorrow.
I find it hard to believe, too, by the time we do this again next Monday night, that we will be into week 1 of the National Football League. Can you believe that? I mean, obviously, the NFL has done an incredible job with setting up their testing protocols. We'll see how this thing plays out during the course of the season, whether or not we'll get all the allotted games. But it looks like right now our Thursday night opener is going to take place, I believe, at the Texans and Kansas City. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't even looked, but not really all that worried about it. But we can check that out. But, yeah, week 1 of the NFL is definitely something that will take place. I'll actually find out while we're at it. So, but, you know, again, football's right around the corner. I know there's a college game right now going on. So, you know, there's a lot of things definitely going on in sports. That the NBA is going strong right now. And NHL, they're deep into their playoffs. Monday night, I was right. Thursday night, Houston Texans travel to Kansas City to take on the defending Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs. That's an 8:20 start on NBC. Kansas City's favored in that contest. I believe college football has Navy against Brigham Young. Not getting into scores, not really worried about it. I find it hard to believe that colleges are going on, but there will be some conferences that will come and some that go. So week 1 of the NFL is upon us, and so, you know, we have a lot going on right now between the National Hockey League, we have the NBA, and, of course, we talk baseball every week, which we really enjoy doing. With that said, Mr. Hodges, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Sure, they can get a hold of me on Twitter at Dave Talks Sports, and I'm also on Facebook at Dave Davino Hodges. If you'd like to send me a friend request or possibly some topics we should maybe be talking about over the next coming weeks. And another sport kicking off very soon is my beloved English Premier League. Of course, that's professional soccer over there in merry old England. So a lot of great sports on the horizon. And again, hopefully everybody's following safety protocols. And so again, we can get rid of COVID-19 and get back to enjoying what we love.
Yeah, Lionel Messi, wouldn't he make a little bit of noise? They want to play for Barcelona until give me $838 million reasons why he should. My goodness, not a bad living if you get $838 million to play soccer. Goodness. Anyways,
and he wanted to leave, and now he's changed course and said he would like to stay and finish out his career. So that's quite a crazy 7 days over there.
Yeah, well, that's all right. $838 million. I guess you could probably feed your family quite well. All right, Mr. Curti, proceed, please. Thank you.
Well, you can contact me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. Our email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, and I have another Facebook page at Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, so you can send me a request, and hopefully we can connect.
And Rick also helps us out with South Florida Tribune as our social media consultant as well. He helps us get a lot of our stories out there. We thank you for your continuous help in that area. With that said, as I mentioned before, you can find 108 Stitches Baseball Talk through Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Otherwise, you can follow us on Twitter at the @Tribune South, Facebook, South Florida Tribune, Instagram, South Florida Tribune. We have a YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. We'll be doing more and more of these Zoom broadcasts through the YouTube channel, so we can get it. You can see us visually, as well as when I could get out there to have some fresh YouTube material as well. Right now, I'm playing it safe with COVID-19. If I'm going to talk about it, I got to practice what I preach. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can find a lot of our stories from our media distribution partners, our columnists. These broadcasts will also appear there as well. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll be more than happy to do so. My name is Scott, S-C-O-T-T, Morganroth, M-O-R-G-A-N-R-O-T-H. I'll be more than happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. Guys, great job tonight as always. Always look forward to having you guys on the Monday night broadcast. Do a sensational job, and we get ready to, I don't worry about competing with Monday Night Football because Monday Night Baseball isn't so bad, our style. So again, really productive broadcast. And you know what, David, I'm glad you had an opportunity to get that broadcaster from Washington State on. Very appropriate. We've talked to a lot of people passing away, and all I can say is within the last week, rest in peace, Tom Seaver and Lou Brock. And you'll never be forgotten in our minds and hearts, and what you've done out there. So on behalf of David Hodges, Rick Curti, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth the Motor City Man. Well, thank you for joining us on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and we will catch you the next time. Good night, everybody.